One of the most anticipated movies on the DC Comics and Warner Brothers movie slate is Wonder Woman. The film, which was credited to Ice Age writer Jason Fuchs, boasts Jeff Johns and Alan Heinberg as writers.
After Infinite Crisis, 1 year later, Washington, D.C., the Museum of Natural History's exhibit on Themyscira, where artifacts that had been held in a defunct embassy for a lost island had been relocated. Terrorists held Deputy Secretary of Defense Steve Trevor hostage, demanding Princess Diana come out of hiding. Instead, they would get the new Wonder Woman, Donna Troy. Raised in the shadow of her sister, Troy would eventually follow Wonder Woman to Patriarch's world to become a heroine herself. Following the killing of Maxwell Lord, Princess Diana passed her mantle to Donna and disappeared from public life.
But I keep thinking, if she couldn't do it, what chance do I have?
In the museum, Donna freed Steve Trevor, but was set upon by a cheetah. The cheetah had regained her humanity. It was intent on keeping it, but still held reign over 3 of her namesake. Dr. Barbara Minerva wrapped Donna's lasso around her neck, but learned nothing about Diana's current whereabouts.
Diana didn't even trust her own sister enough to let her know where she was going? Then you're of no use to me.
Minerva ordered Troy and Trevor dead, but Dr. Doris Zuhl disagreed, believing Wonder Woman was bound to show up sooner or later with them as hostages. In the grip of Giganta, Donna stabbed her finger with a star-shaped earring. As far as Troy was concerned, Wonder Woman was right there. Released from Giganta's grip, Donna flew Steve to safety at a nearby park. Minerva still held the lasso and caught Wonder Woman at the ankle, hoping she could compel Troy to do her will.
The only thing that lasso compels me to do is tell the truth, Minerva. And the truth is, you and Giganta are going down.
Wonder Woman tied Zuhl's legs with the lasso, but was brought down with the giantess. Dr. Minerva took Donna's sword, as she had her lasso, and prepared to chop her, when a second lasso caught her wrists. Suddenly, Princess Diana fought Minerva, and was prepared to kill her as she had Maxwell Lord, prompting a conflict between the Wonder Women.
You're not killing anyone, ever again.
Diana was stronger, faster, and skewered Donna with her own sword.
You're not Wonder Woman.
Lying in the grass with a bloodless wound, Donna watched the sword and her sister evaporate into the diminutive form of Dr. Psycho. With all due respect, neither are you. Steve Trevor reported to Sarge Steele outside the museum, which had been surrounded by agents of the Department of Metahuman Affairs. This Trevor proved to in fact be the master of disguise dubbed Nemesis. Tom Trusser had lost Donna Troy, but was set on getting her back with his new partner, Agent Diana Prince. The August 2006 cover dated Wonder Woman #1, the first part of the story arc, Who is Wonder Woman, was by Alan Heinberg, Terry Dodson, and Rachel Dodson. This was not a bad debut issue. The major points of history were explained to new readers, the altered status quo was established, the pictures were pretty, the story was fast-paced, and the villains all got nice new costumes. I was pretty excited about the return of Diana Prince in her cool white threads. How the good times will soon be washed away.
You didn't really think I came all by myself, did you?
The past, Dr. Poison, Osira, and Dr. Cyber acknowledged that Donna Troy was the new Wonder Woman as she was fighting them, alongside Wonder Girl Cassie Sandsmark. Joking about being a kinder, gentler model, Donna chopped off Cyber's robot arms, tossed the remains at Osira, and deflected bullets fired by Poison back into her shoulders. Garbed in black, Princess Diana secretly observed through binoculars from afar. She was joined by Batman, and explained that while it was best that she stay out of the girls' lives so that they can move on, Diana hadn't walked away from them entirely. Diana didn't feel she could accomplish her mission as either a princess or Wonder Woman, and she didn't want to saddle her friends with the weight of her killing Maxwell Lord. Batman offered Diana a new identity as an agent of the reformed Department of Metahuman Affairs, a government agency charged with policing the superhuman community, created for a 1996 issue of Power of Shazam. This organization may have predated the Department of Extranormal Operations, but in its absence, the DEO had filled a vacuum. And ultimately, we would learn that the new Department of Metahuman Affairs was just a subdivision of the DEO. Regardless, if Wonder Woman took on a new identity as Diana Prince, running around in form-fitting white leather and wearing pink-tinted shades, this newly created Agent Prince would offer a side benefit of being Batman's mole within the agency if need be. Those glasses had to have been Clark's idea. Fast forward to the present. Nemesis was resistant to taking on a new partner, but Agent Diana Prince's background included 3 years in Army intelligence, a master's in international relations from Hopkins, and prior employment as head of security for Wayne Corp. In the time since Wonder Woman's disappearance, 3 of her villains had clearly received upgrades, and Princess Diana herself had believed to have been last sighted with an Eastern mystic codenamed I Ching. Somebody had to deal with these upgraded rogues, so Nemesis would need all the help he could get. Agent Prince felt that outside heroes would be needed, and that her former associates would continue to be targeted, so she contacted Wonder Girl. Cassie resented being abandoned by Wonder Woman in her time of most dire following the Infinite Crisis, and blamed Diana for Donna's capture. Robin, Tim Drake version, was present during during the women's confrontation, and had to confess he knew about Diana's decisions without telling Cassie, which only made her angrier. Giganta began tearing up the city while wearing Wonder Woman Donna Troy as a necklace and demanding to know where Wonder Woman Princess Diana was. While Agent Prince rescued an imperiled nemesis, Wonder Girl began choking Giganta with her lasso. A vision of her deceased boyfriend, Superboy, visited and then assaulted Cassie, which was of course Dr. Psycho's doing. His illusions now powerful enough that even onlookers saw them. Dr. Barbara Minerva managed to grab Agent Prince from the back of the neck, but was kicked through a store window via Diana Prince's martial arts. However, the transformed cheetah emerged from within, necessitating Prince look for a safe place to transform into Wonder Woman. As she began a TV show-style twirl, her arms were grabbed by Hercules, halting her progress.
Too many women have tried and failed, Diana. Time for a man, don't you think?
Part 2 of Who is Wonder Woman was not a bad issue, if a bit busy. I was happy to see old Diana Prince continuity threaded into the 1 year later tapestry, and the government agent angle was promising, even if I did wonder why they couldn't have just used the Department of Extra Normal Operations instead. Cassie's anger was valid, and I liked how it contrasted with Donna's fountain of forgiveness. Diana's rogues were also being treated with respect. So much potential here.
The gods, the prime movers of the universe, gave life to an earthly creature. The mightiest, the most heroic of all men, Hercules.
Hercules caught Giganta by the foot and put her on her butt, allowing him to free the Donna Troy necklace. Cheetah leapt this Wonder Man, while Diana looked after Donna. Dr. Psycho tried to mesmerize the ladies, but was clipped in the head by Hercules' thrown headband. Hercules was about to stab Psycho, but Prince stopped him, allowing the doctor to utter a magic word. All the bad guys plus Donna and Wonder Girl disappeared, and it was once again Diana's fault. Hercules made sure to rub it in, as he had taken on Wonder Woman's abdicated mission, and browbeat her for shirking her duties. Members of the JSA helped clean up Giganta's mess. Diana Prince briefed Nemesis and fellow agents about Hercules, who had raped and wronged the Amazons in the past. Sentenced to literally carry the weight of Themyscira for eternity by Zeus, his sentence was commuted when Princess Diana offered to help shoulder the burden. Hercules briefly acted as the superhero champion before being allowed to live among the gods, but was now back on Earth, giving press conferences regarding his new role. Agent Prince was part of a Department of Metahuman Affairs team sent to investigate Hercules, but they found that he had been transformed into a minotaur. All the males on Prince's team followed suit, becoming bestiomorphs through the enchantments of Circe. The sorceress had Donna and Cassie dangling from chains. Diana Prince was also effortlessly captured, and Circe figured that if Diana didn't want to be Wonder Woman anymore, she just might have an app for that.
When the gods of Olympus left this earthly plane, they entrusted you, Donna Troy, and Wonder Girl with the last of their power. Power you squandered, battling cyborg centurions and psychic despots. When every day, thousands of women are beaten, raped, and murdered because they have no one to fight for them. Because you were too busy being a superhero to be their champion. And now you're not even their superhero. You're pretending to be human. Well, guess what? You don't have to pretend anymore.
Suddenly, Circe was a terrifying new vision of a Wonder Woman. Circe kept her trademark pink-purple hair. She traded out the gold in Wonder Woman's costume for silver, had a dragon in place of the eagle on the breastplate, took to a cape and loincloth, and perhaps the sharpest deviation, began wielding a scythe. Part 3 of Who is Wonder Woman was the last issue to come out on a proper schedule, and also the point at which I began to turn on the book. There were quite simply too many characters running around fighting without accomplishing anything, and the third straight issue where 3 of Wonder Woman's biggest foes popped up screaming to find Diana, got in a fight, and then conveniently disappeared. If that wasn't repetitive enough, we've got more heavy-handed Diana bashing without very convincing rationales, more of Diana vacillating on her decisions, and just plain random crap happening to advance a paper-thin plot. When will writers learn that there are characters made to be weak, vulnerable, fallible, and characters that are supposed to be above reproach? People don't want to read stories where Superman or Wonder Woman whine about how tough it is to be beautiful and perfect, but rather to revel in these extraordinary heroes defeating evils to make the world better for all of us. Almost as bad, Heinberg has all the characters speaking subtext as text, resulting in cringe-inducing purple prose or self-important screeds about whether friggin' Hercules or Circe would make better wonder persons. Why would Circe want to do anything like that? We've had 20 years of Circe as a soulless vamp governed entirely by self-interest and personal pleasure, whose motivation to kill Wonder Woman was the prophecy that Diana would someday take Circe's immortality. Now we're supposed to buy her as a defender of the molested and downtrodden, clearly in service to Heinberg's storytelling agenda? Dude, create a new character for that, because Circe isn't in that line of work. It just makes Diana look stupid for sweating her role, and the readers feel cheated by this nonsense. Further, comics are escapist entertainment with a very precarious suspension of disbelief. Outside of very special episodes, you have to avoid relevance and pointing out the artifice of superheroes, because the whole concept falls apart under that kind of scrutiny. That's like sending Foghorn Leghorn through a Kentucky Fried Chicken processing plant. It's not a thing to be done. Jumping from the October 2006 Wonder Woman number 3 to the February 2007 Wonder Woman number 4, The Bunny Bar, San Jose, California. Home to human trafficking no more, Sarge Seal noted.
In Cersei's first 12 hours as Wonder Woman, she's liberated over 2,000 women on 3 different continents and murdered every man who stood in her way.
Unlike the persecution of Princess Diana, Cersei's killings were going unchecked. It was going to be especially difficult to stop her, with the powers of Princess Diana, Donna Troy, and Cassandra Sandsmark at Cersei's disposal. The JSA were helping the heroines with their power loss, and Stargirl insisted that between the JLA and Zatanna's contacts in Sorcerer's spheres, no stone need go unturned. Diana refused all their aid, feeling such a massive assault would be figured into any trap laid by Cersei. Cersei felt Diana had given up, but had no right to bundle her own Zeus-bestowed powers with Wonder Woman's stolen identity. The more agreeable Donna also intended to have that discussion with Zatanna. Diana Prince couldn't stop them, so instead allowed them to serve as a distraction during her own gamut involving a depowered Hercules and an invisible jet. Not as invisible as the one I had as Wonder Woman, but my friend at Wayne Tech tells me it's the latest stealth technology. Diana admitted to Hercules that she missed being Wonder Woman, but teaching peace was the reason she came to man's world. Actually, it turns out mankind never asked for my instruction, nor does it believe in my gods, who, it turned out, are not all that peaceful themselves. Diana Prince and Hercules landed on the Greek island of Aiaia, Cersei's home for the last few thousand years. Prince provided a trank gun for any roaming bestiomorphs, and the Molly herb to counteract any attempts to turn Hercules into one of them. Cersei was immediately aware of their presence and attacked. After Hercules' rape of Diana's mother and enslavement of the Amazons, Cersei couldn't believe Diana would ally with him. Penance and forgiveness were spoken of, and Diana was able to wrangle the lasso of truth back, which she used to gain mobility through a winged bestiomorph burning to help undo Cersei's spells. Diana Prince reached Cersei's temple, and within it her grimoire, before being tied up with Wonder Girl's lasso of lightning. Given the chance, Diana's own rage might have fueled her agony, but Hercules got the drop on Cersei before it could be fully employed. Diana could use her lasso of truth to trick Cersei into saying the spell necessary to restore everyone's powers, but Hercules got the drop on Prince before it could be fully employed. Just as Cersei had hoped she wouldn't have to kill a powerless princess, Hercules had hoped to make her his bride, but both had realized Diana was too dangerous to live.
Mankind doesn't need a godly hero to save it from itself. It needs a god to worship and obey. When Athena decided to withdraw from the earthly plane,
Hercules decided to journey to the underworld in search of the god of war, but found Cersei instead. The pair teamed up and loved up, until Cersei managed to betray Hercules before he could do the same to her. Agent Prince pulled her gun on Hercules, who threw Cersei's tiara at her. Diana caught it, and with a well-placed throw retrieved the Molly and the lasso of lightning. Hercules tried to compel Cersei to transfer everyone's powers to him, but Diana understood a new spell couldn't be cast before the old one was reversed. Restored as Wonder Woman, Diana was prepared for a fight, and one had certainly found her. She was surrounded by Cheetah, Dr. Psycho, Giganta, and many more. So here's part 4 of Who is Wonder Woman. The book was already very late thanks to the writer, so this would be his last regular issue. The story would finally wrap up 2 months later in an annual, which as I recall was among a very few released that year. Not that the industry had exactly been flush with them over the past decade or so. I like the idea of Wonder Cersei since it paid off on the influence Diana had over Donna Milton, and the softening of Cersei's character ever since. At the same time, Cersei's engaging in a feminist crusade seemed to go too far the other way, and it was never really addressed why it would be such a bad idea to let it continue a while longer. Don't launch a series by having a villain outdo the heroine unless you're going to address the matter with more conviction than, but she was going to lord it over us. I'm fine with that. Let Cersei kill a few thousand more pimps, at least, and then defeat her. Or else reveal that she gets her powers from inducing spontaneous abortions or something. Otherwise, she remains a better Wonder Woman than Diana, and that's the wrong way to leave things. I also dig evil scumbag Hercules, since it returns him to the status quo of the Golden Age, and differentiates him from the Marvel Comics version. I have to ask, though, if Hercules knew Diana Prince was Princess Diana, why didn't she just disappear with Donna and Cassie in number 3? What's the point of luring her to the island? Little help in backstabbing Cersei, I guess?
Wonder Woman is an Amazon and one of the toughest fighters in the DC universe. So if you're going to take her on, you need to be confident you can keep up.
So yeah, Wonder Woman killed a guy, but he needed killing. The World Court backed her up, and it was about time Princess Diana moved on and got back to the good fight. In fact, when you're in Cersei's temple surrounded by an army of your enemies, whose powers have been enhanced through sorcery, it's probably a little bit past due. Jump to Wonder Woman Annual number 1, 2007 edition. I have to applaud artist Terry Dodson for page 4, where he overcame a logistical problem with Giganta by having time progress as a series of stories down the villainess's body. For instance, Queen Clea and Gundra the Valkyrie were still trying to follow through with Cersei's plan to talk Diana into joining the collective against man's world. Diana took them both out, as well as the mask, all while encircling Giganta and dodging the caption boxes with one-sentence biographies of each villain. Kung, Cheetah, the Duke of Deception, Angleman, Silver Swan, Dr. Cyber, Dr. Poison, Minister Blizzard, Dr. Psycho, an orgasm of who's who information as each took their turn with Wonder Woman. The lesser artists would have folded as the writer tried to reintroduce decades of forgotten supervillains in the span of 7 pages. Just as things were starting to get ridiculous, there was a 2-page spread of heroes led by Wonder Girl Donna Troy, come to save today. Included were Green Arrow, Stargirl, Green Lantern Hal Jordan, Robin Tim Drake, Wonder Girl Cassie Sandsmark, Supergirl, Starfire, Red Tornado, Black Canary, Power Girls, Zatanna, Nemesis, the Golden Age Flash and Wally West, Liberty Bell, Dr. Midnight, Green Lantern Alan Scott, Wildcat, Hawkman, Superman, and Batman. Someone, Robin, made the connection between the vegetation discovered at the scene of Donna's kidnapping and the Molly used to defend against Cersei's magic. There was lots of fighting and lots of yapping amidst the melee. Donna confessed that she never felt comfortable as Wonder Woman, hence her regressed costume. Cassie made it clear that old suit or no, the Wonder Girl name was taken. Batman somehow wrangled Cheetah. Heat Vision took out Minister Blizzard's gun. Ankle Man proved less than Robin's batarang. Meanwhile, Hercules was trying to kill Cersei, but Wonder Woman made it clear, if anyone does any killing today, it'll be me. Hercules didn't believe that it was in her nature, so she kicked him in the head. If only that weren't true. When I killed Medusa, no one batted an eye. That was my job, slaying mythological monsters, putting malevolent gods in their place, and you're both. Then it is true that you're a lethal agent, so we'll forgive the grammar. Hercules then tried to woo Diana, followed by threatening to take her by force.
The same way I took your mother.
Diana bit his lip, headbutted him, and held a sword to his throat. Cersei didn't have faith in Diana to do the deed, so she renewed her attack. Although what had been stopping her for the past 4 pages eluded me.
For now I'll bind him with chains stronger than those that bound Prometheus.
For reasons that also elude me. Even though Cersei had just finished killing oodles of people as Wonder Woman, while simultaneously getting a lot more done in that role than Diana, the princess let her go off with Hercules. In the least perceptive line regarding Wonder Woman, since she claimed to not really like women back in the 70s,
I'm not even a real person. I'm a golem, a clay statue brought to life. I have no idea who or what I am. All I know is, I'm alone.
Cersei punctured Diana's emo bubble, pointing out all of her buddies fighting for her outside, and offered her a bit of humanity as a present. Nemesis was given all the credit for the arrests at the Department of Metahuman Affairs. Agent Prince was assigned to catalog all the weapons collected from the scene, and was shocked when she cut herself on Gundra's sword. Of course, Diana could always bleed, but the writer was so fixated on his Wonder Woman encyclopedia that he seemed to neglect reading any actual comics. Anyway, Wonder Woman could now really become Diana Prince, a normal human, who still looked exactly like Wonder Woman in glasses. DC supporting casts have 2120 vision, I guess. Donna and Cassie had a girl power session with Wonder Woman, pretending that the relationship was like that of Batman, Nightwing, and Robin. Okay, so how come Wonder Woman only pays attention to either girl when they finally get developed in best-selling teen books, so that their guest appearances can help buoy her own sales? Batman offered a final pep talk with a smile. Shudder. After already giving Wonder Woman her new human identity, a job as a secret agent, an invisible plane, and limited use of his teen sidekick. That had to be worth at least a hand job. Can't this chick do anything for herself? There's one more story, called appropriately enough Backstory, from the annual. At the Department of Metahuman Affairs in Washington, D.C., Sarge Steele assigns agents Diana Prince and Tom Tresser to target Wonder Woman for observation.
According to her press release today, she's returning to active duty after a year-long absence. A self-imposed exile brought on by the death of the former chief of both the Justice League and Checkmate, Maxwell Lord, a man Wonder Woman murdered. According to her testimony before the World Court, which dropped charges against Wonder Woman, this was done in self-defense. Regardless, the public still didn't trust Wonder Woman, so neither did the department. Sarge Steele didn't trust anyone. He was originally Special Forces assigned to Army intelligence overseas, until a terrorist grenade blew up in his hand. Outfitted with a high-tech prosthetic made of solid steel, Sarge became a high-ranking government agent and proved himself particularly adept at working with superheroes. These included Blue Beetle, Captain Atom, Nightshade, Peacemaker, The Question, Judo Master, and a thinly disguised Peter Cannon Thunderbolt, which DC Comics no longer owned the rights to, after having bought all those other characters from Charlton Comics. Anyway, the Central Bureau of Intelligence and Task Force X were under his supervision before he was transferred to his current assignment, where his paranoia kept him in the field and his own agents under surveillance. Only his assistant Bess Forbes was exempted, the only person on the planet he's afraid of. Wonder Woman's post-crisis origin was recounted, as was Wonder Girl Donna Troy's most current one, as a magical twin of Princess Diana Themyscira, created by the sorceress Magala as a playmate. An enemy of Diana's mother called Dark Angel kidnapped the twin by mistake and kept her in suspended animation for years, until fate intervened, vaguely alluding to a rescue by Wonder Woman that recalled her early 80s origin. The twin returned to Paradise Island for more training under the Amazons and the Titans of Myth before joining the Teen Titans, and was now known simply as Donna Troy. Cassandra Sandsmark borrowed Wonder Woman's Gauntlet of Atlas and Sandals of Hermes to become a new Wonder Girl, and was granted permanent powers of her own by Zeus, who was later revealed to have secretly fathered her. Agent Tresser knew all of this, and recounted it to Agent Prince, as well as confiding that he believed Wonder Woman was justified in killing Maxwell Lord.
A Hydra attacking the Greek embassy seemed a likely place for the amazing Amazon to show up, so Tresser excused himself to observe the sight alone. All three heroines discussed made a scene to battle with a number of mythological threats. Afterward, Wonder Woman decided to approach the agent to compare information. Tom and his brother Craig had been government agents, until Craig was brainwashed into assassinating his mentor. To avenge the death, Tom used his inventive skills to become Nemesis, a master of disguise and key agent of Task Force X. Wonder Woman also knew Tresser had relationship troubles, including a stalled stint with the heroine Nightshade. Their conversation was interrupted by a Sphinx with a message from Olympus, but Tresser mistook its approach for an attack and shot it out of the sky. It wasn't a major faux pas, because the gods wanted Wonder Woman dead these days. Both she and Nemesis had already been dead a few times, because neither was good about doing what they were told. Wonder Woman flew off, then used teleportation technology wielded by the department to appear as Agent Prince immediately afterwards, helping to put Tresser off her scent. Backstory was once again by Alan Heinberg, this time joined by Gary Frank and John Sebald. The tale did a nice job of serving as a primer for the ongoing series, so of course it was released around the same time as its 13th issue due to delays caused by the writer. It seemed like a good idea on paper. Return most of the iconic elements from classic Wonder Woman stories excised from George Perez in his 1987 revision, and relaunch your book for a new audience. 3 simultaneous generations of Wonder Woman, extensive rogues gallery, blind Asian mentor I Ching, the Diana Prince secret identity, spinning transformations, invisible jet, and even some powerless globe-trotting adventures in white leather. You've got a well-liked television writer who'd successfully transitioned into comics at Marvel, and an artist whose popular work took cues from a fan-favorite Wonder Woman cover artist. What could go wrong? For starters, a 5-issue story taking a year and a half to tell, requiring other talents to continue the series, while the conclusion was served in an extant annual. Terry and Rachel Dotson's art was attractive, but for a book that very badly wanted to emulate Jim Lee's popular story arc Batman Hush, it was not quite enough to put it over when the story proved weaker than Jeff Loeb's on Batman Hush. A good deal of the first issue was spent explaining that Princess Diana had become a wanted murderess who had fled from her duties and her people. This is how you introduce new readers to the most famous superheroine of all, and worse, mention it as an afterthought without offering resolution nor redemption. Donna Troy, the former Wonder Girl, had appointed herself the new Wonder Woman in Diana's absence. Never mind what a train wreck Donna's backstory is, or how she's never had much of a connection to Wonder Woman beyond her name and powers. It takes Troy's defeat and capture to bring the real Wonder Woman out of hiding, which only reinforces Troy's B-list status, while making Diana Prince look no less the shiftless sort. There's even one of those vaguely misogynistic moments where a phallic object impales the heroine, for a bit of metaphorical rape. The whole legacy angle fairly reeks of other heroes' books, leftovers from the Superman or Batman families foisted on Wonder Woman without regard for the ill fit. The Diana Prince identity is actually created by Batman and gifted to Wonder Woman, making her new origin dependent on the Dark Knight, and undercutting any drive or resourcefulness on her part. Steve Trevor, a little used since the late 80s and far from relevant, makes a cameo appearance as a hostage. Nemesis, star of a backup series from 1970s Batman comics, is transformed into Diana Prince's new partner and love interest. So again, what was Steve Trevor doing here, other than to remind readers they were meant to find Batman's cast-offs more interesting than anything from Wonder Woman's own canon? By the way, Diana Prince's new boss is Sarge Steele, an old Charlton Comics character that never amounted to much, but now gets to lord it over an Amazon princess. Not bad for a gumshoe turned into a 2-bit Nick Fury ripoff. There's much seeming ado about who is Wonder Woman, but upon closer inspection, it all amounts to nothing. The plot meanders near endlessly before fumbling toward a stopping point, but considerably less than an ending. Writer Alan Heinberg wastes Wonder Woman, his artist, and his opportunity. Alan Heinberg, Terry Dodson, and Rachel Dodson answer the titular question, who is Wonder Woman, with an end great. It boils down to Diana being incredibly powerful and broadly loved and still pitying herself. 3/4 of a century in, you don't decide to take your shot at being Alan Moore by redefining Wonder Woman through the Pinocchio, I want to be a real girl trope. Not only is it hoary as hell, but it's quite simply not what anyone wants from Wonder Woman, especially if they suffered through 7 seasons and 4 motion pictures of Data on Star Trek The Next Generation. Writers, for Gaia's sake, stop playing the clay card. Diana was a sculpture of a child brought to life by the gods so that she could be born completely absent of the influence of man. It's no different than the Bible casting Adam out of the earth. Wonder Woman grew up, sprouted boobs, and bleeds every 28 days. What part of woman was unclear? It's in her friggin' name. What isn't? Golem. A product of Jewish folklore regarding a misshapen man-made creature instilled with a terrifying caricature of life through magic, not unlike a zombie, whose name translates from Hebrew as dumb, helpless. You want to humanize Wonder Woman? Address the fact that she was raised as the only child on an island full of rape victims who is so traumatized that she remains a virgin well into adulthood and casts untouchable figures like Superman and Batman in her sexual fantasies. There's your Alan Moore moment, you cowardly, unimaginative dorks. Alternately, write an inspirational superheroine without resorting to a literal feat of clay and storytelling devices from 1960s Stanley scripts that were only considered sophisticated in comparison to Mort Weisinger-era Superman comics written at a second-grade reading level. Thanks go out to 100 Issues, Allie Batts, Ange, Between the Pages, Blue Girl, Brody's Kitchen, Coffee and Comics Blog, Columbus Comics Corner, Comic Reflections, Comics in the Golden Age, DCU Movie Page, Dmitry Pimenov, Dr. G Nerdologist, Ed Moore Jr. at Indie Comics Fan, Marvel Bronze Age, Teal Productions, and Miskatonic, Inigo Montoya, Hulkling All Yeah, Jake and Tom Conquer Podcast, Jeffrey Brown, John D. Knoll, Joseph Crawford, Justice First Dawn, Keith G. Baker, Con L, Maria Ball, Mario at Luther Lang, Martin Gray, Matches Baloney, Min, Nedhead, Richard Field, Rob at Speculum Fight, Satin Tights Podcast, Silver and Gold Podcast, Siskoid, Slangwood Resists, Stefano Losca, Style Icon, Tony Acero, Trucker Talk, Warlord Worlds Podcast, Warrior for Peace Podcast, We're All Monsters, Xenozoic Xenophiles, and Yushu. Trucker Talk wrote, "Yay, new Diana Prince Wonder Woman podcast." And speaking of not remotely new podcasts, I managed to miss a comment from Siskoid on A Final Adventure of Wonder Woman, 1985. The one Wonder Woman issue I bought in the 80s made me one of those people who kept saying Huntress was the better strip. It was the one with gremlins on the wing of her plane. Anyway, the impression it gave me was that, like Superman, the book was flailing, doing silly and boring one-off stories, in arrested development as far as its supporting cast went, and devoting part of its page count to an unrelated strip. I never came back to it. Looks like the last story, at least, was worth reading. The Bronze Age Diana got a proper send-off, just as Superman did. On the 75th anniversary special, Martin Gray wrote, "Enjoying the show, here are my thoughts on the issue. We're scarcely in agreement on the Lois piece." And you can read that at the Too Dangerous for a Girl blog. I'll post a link up on the page. Warrior for Peace wrote that episode. Actually reads the description. Blooper episode. Oh, this could be very bad. Hits play. Oh good, more deleted scenes than bloopers. Had me worried for a second. Slangwood Scott wrote in relation to the release of the 75th anniversary special, "I needed some good news. Thanks." Warlord Worlds wrote on the Justice League Action Upon the Transconsciousness Articulator episode, "The latest episode of Diana Prince Wonder Woman is a perfect way to spend a lunchtime break." Martin Gray wrote, in which Frank kindly assumes my poor spelling is a pun. Coffee and Comics blog wrote, Diablo Frank probably doesn't wear satin tights when fighting for some rights, but he does talk some Wonder Woman. Justice First Dawn wrote, "You're a wonder, Wonder Woman," and rolled spine. Ryan Daly wrote, "Haven't had a chance to watch any Justice League action yet, was on the fence about it. After listening to your reviews, I don't think I'll make a strong effort to seek it out for a whiler." Finally, Ange wrote, "I have been giving Justice League action a bit of a pass. In my mind, it is cotton candy. It is sweet for a short period of time and then dissolves to nothing. Perhaps because my ideas of these characters are well formed, I don't mind these versions being a bit one-dimensional. Yes, this is not my Swamp Thing or Constantine. At all. But could these versions be a hook for young kids who might not care for cerebral elementals or bastard friend killers? Maybe. In regards to Wonder Woman, it is sad that the Sword Shield seems to be the WB's default version, so I'm not surprised to see that be the one here. I regard her as the Goku Vegeta of the show, right down to the hair. She is there to be the muscle who takes joy in the battle, unlike Superman who eschews fighting when he can. Unfortunately, that meant very little to differentiate her from Bart in the last episode I saw. Still, I find it hard to complain about a show that gives me Space Cabbie, Mr. Mind, and Vermin Wunderbar, as well as decent portrayals of Batman, Blue Beetle, and Zatanna. Wonder Woman is the copyright of DC Comics Entertainment. This is a non-profit fan-produced podcast. No infringement of any copyrights are intended, and where copyrighted material appears, it is believed protected under fair use. If you enjoy the show, please feel free to leave a comment on the Diana Prince is the New Wonder Woman blog, the Rolled Spine podcast blog. Write to me at emailofdiabolu@yahoo.com, featuring 2 underscores, or just hit me up on Twitter at Commander Blanks or at Rolled Spine. Thank you for listening and have a wonderful week.